The six gather again to share another insightful story. They all sat around a fire. Eric played, while Laura sang melodiously, blending with every string Eric pulled. Oma carefully unpacks the food she brought. Her aunt had prepared fried rice with chicken, so she brought some for the group. Aisha went over their last story, making adjustments where necessary as she sat beside King, who browsed with his tablet, searching for mysterious news of things happening in town. Well, Dari would be running late again. He always has a reason to keep the group waiting. Amid them sat a little girl dressed in a white gown, the one crying beside a grave. What's taking him so long this time? Laura asked no one in particular. Just as she was about to move on with her melodious singing, a voice interrupted her. Eric hit the wrong string and paused to see who it was. He dislikes being interrupted while playing his guitar. He put the guitar beside him, his eyes glued on Dari, who stood beside Laura, panting as if a brutal dog had chased him. "You are late again," Laura said to Dari. Trying to catch his breath, Dari said, I know. It's not entirely my fault. I had to put my kid sister to sleep before leaving the house." He sat, unloading the drinks. "Will you tell us your name today?" Dari asked the little girl. She was silent, staring aimlessly into the fire. "I guess not," he said with a chuckle. "Who is taking this story tonight?" "I have a story to share," replied Aisha. She closed her note and crossed her legs, one over the other. 2 years after the COVID-19 outbreak, the world became different. Things gradually fell into place, and life moved on for those who made it through the outbreak. The only thing unrecoverable were the lives lost during the outbreak. The world moved on without looking back. Those affected quickly forgot they had lost anyone. This was the case of Dr. Damien, who died in his house after suffering from old age and negligence from his only son. Dr. Damien was the best doctor the world ever knew. He was passionate and empathetic, with a heart filled with love and a desire to save lives. The thought that no one loved him overshadowed his good nature. He passed away in his house, right on his armchair, where he sat watching a TV show. 2 years after Damien's passing, his son renovated Damien's house and put it out for rent, oblivious to the fact they needed to find out what had taken Damien's life and prove indeed that they never cared about the doctor, but the wealth he had acquired. "I will take the house," said Sandra, a young lady who just hit her first million. She was so excited to have found such a luxury house at a very cheap rate. "Prepare the documents. I want to buy the house," she said. Her eyes scanned the interior. A smile arced on her beautiful face. "The house is for rent, madam. They didn't ask me to sell it off." The agent reminded her of why they had come there in the first place. "What difference does it make?" Sandra uttered those words while swaying like a tree in the wind. "You get your cut, after all. Or do you want to remain poor?" The agent grew silent. His mind stumbled over what Sandra said. No one loves poverty. He would make much money if the owners agreed to sell the house. Besides, it has been up for rent for over a year, and no one has agreed to pay for it, knowing the mystery behind the doctor's death. Whoever was behind the gossip did not have the boldness to confront the owners. Instead, they played a shadow, scaring away anyone interested in renting the house. 2 days later, Sandra assumed full ownership of the property. Her car was parked in the luxury parking slot. The pool was cleaned and sparkling, and the flowers and trees were neatly trimmed. The cleaning service company, Blink Spot Cleaning Service, did a fantastic job putting the entire house in order. Now, she sat with her legs on a footstool, sipping from a fruit glass half filled with red wine. Life is sweet. There is nothing to bother her life with anymore. She has the money and the connection. Not only is she a freelancer, but she also has connections and handles construction contracts. Sandra has always wanted this life and went the extra mile to achieve her goals and not lose her dignity and integrity. Ha ha ha. You are such a mad girl, Jennifer. I told you I was going to buy this house, but you didn't believe me, she said, dangling her legs on the footstool. When are you coming to visit me? Jennifer laughed. They had agreed she would come by month end to spend a week or two before leaving Port Harcourt for Abaddon, where she retains a 9 to 4 job with an excellent salary plus other benefits. They were both hard-working ladies who had struggled through hell to get to where they are today. All they needed was the right man. Many have come and many have gone, but the right man is yet to surface. Jesus! Sandra screamed, taking the phone out of her ear. A loud noise from inside interrupted her conversation with Jennifer, causing the wine in the fruit to spill on Sandra. What is that? Jennifer asked. I have no idea. Hold on, let me check. Something fell inside the house. She hung up and entered the house to find out what had fallen. The noise was so loud that she got scared. She is the only one in the house. What was that all about? Scanning the kitchen like a surveillance camera, she shut the door behind her and walked around to see what fell, but there was nothing there. Where did that noise come from? She questioned her instinct. She was shocked to hear a newscaster's voice echo from the TV. Fear gripped Sandra. She walked to the living room, standing by the kitchen door. She wondered how the TV had come to life. What is going on? She panicked. The lights tripped off and came on right back. A shadow cast on the wall, sitting on a rocky armchair. Sandra's eyes almost fell off. The lights tripped off again and came on, and the shadow was gone. Sandra began spilling the blood of Jesus all over the house like a ceremonial pastor under the influence of 3-3. She almost called down heaven, yet her legs were shaking, her heart was halfway down her belly, and her eyes were wide open. Suddenly, the house became calm again. What was that? Sandra questioned. It was her first time experiencing the presence of a ghost. 27 days after, the gate bell dangled aloud. The visitor, so impatient, kept pushing the bell button. Sandra rushed out to see who it was at the gate, and to her surprise, it was Jennifer standing by the gate. They hugged and exchanged pleasantries before walking into the house. I didn't imagine the house was as big as this, Jennifer said, walking through the interior. This is heaven, girl. How did you get the money to pull this off? She was amazed by her friend's achievement. You are still clinging to your luggage. Let me help you with that. Sandra offered to take her friend's bag to one of the luxury rooms she had reserved for her friend. However, Jennifer refused and suggested they go to the room together so Sandra could show her sections of the house. They cheerfully moved upstairs. At 8 p.m. that night, Jennifer and Sandra were watching a TV program. I need a drink, Sandra said, leaving the living room to fetch a drink from the refrigerator in her kitchen. Halfway through, she heard a scream. Jennifer ran into the kitchen, shaking tremendously. What is that? Her friend yelled out of fear. She almost broke a glass. What happened? Why are you screaming? Jennifer, trying to catch her breath, said, I saw someone sitting on the dining table eating. Please, don't start with your drama. I am not joking, Jennifer yelled. Peeking at the dining table, Sandra saw no one sitting there. I don't see anyone there, Sandra barked. We haven't even started drinking, and you are already drunk. I better drop the drink instead of trouble, Sandra said, attempting to return the drink when the sound of a shattered glass plate echoed from the dining room. Sandra's eyes met Jennifer's eyes, filled with fear. I am not comfortable in this house. I am scared, Jennifer said, shivering in her pants. Ever since Sandra moved into the house, her peace vanished. She barely sleeps at night. She had persuaded Jennifer to come, hoping she would find peace in having someone with her in the house. Now, the evil in the house has no respect for third parties. I don't think I can stay here anymore. What is going on, Sandra? Jennifer asked curiously. Never in her life has she had such a scary experience. I have no idea. Ever since I moved into this house, it's been one thing or another. At times, I sleep out to keep my head calm. I think you need to resell this house before something bad happens to you. Jennifer lauded a fair warning. She was one of many who made this suggestion to Sandra. A colleague at work advised Sandra to sell the house, ask for a refund, and move out, but Sandra was adamant about their warnings. I will not do that, Sandra said, shrugging. Do you know how much I had to put in this house to get it to my standard? She asked, rolling her eye at Jennifer, who stood with her mouth slightly open, wondering if her friend had gone crazy or if something was blinding her from seeing her life at stake. Are you coming, or do you want to remain here? Sandra asked. She left the kitchen with Jennifer tagging behind her. After a restless night with terrible nightmares, at sunrise, Jennifer parked her luggage and was ready to leave for Abaddon. The idea of coming to Sandra's house was terrible. If she had known that evil lives within these walls, she wouldn't have stepped her feet on the property. You don't have to leave. We have a plan and places to go. Why are you so in a hurry to leave? You just arrived here yesterday. This is not fair. Sandra said persuasively, but Jennifer had already decided to leave no matter what. When you move to a new house, I will come, and I will stay forever if you want, Jennifer said, hanging her handbag. I am sure you didn't get a priest to bless this house before you moved in. She pulled her roller box behind her and left Sandra with no option but to see her off to the gate. When Sandra returned to the house, she stood in the living room, looking around the house with tears. What has she done to deserve this restlessness? Who or what in this house has come to steal her happiness? And seeking an answer, she yelled aloud, Who are you, and what do you want from me? Show yourself, and don't be a coward. Her legs were trembling as her voice echoed around the house. Those eyes kept scanning around the living room but found nothing. Show yourself. I am not scared of you. Show yourself, you coward. Strange sensations juggled down her spine. Her feet grew cold, the light trembled, and a voice came from behind. Sandra. Sandra swung to her left. Her eyes were wide open, and a goosebump rushed down her legs, causing her to miss a step. Who are you, and how do you know my name? She asked, shivering in her pants. A shadow emerged from the wall and stood before her. Her head felt like it was too heavy on her shoulders. She couldn't move an inch because her legs trembled. She could only pull herself slowly across the floor, away from the shadow of an older man she had never seen before. Do not be afraid. I will not hurt you, for you have a good heart. Why do you trouble me? Sandra asked in fear. Something happened to me right in this house. I am caged and can't leave because no one knows the truth about my death. He vanished and reappeared beside Sandra. Jesus! She screamed, running across the floor to the other side. Ha ha ha, the doctor laughed. You are the only one I trust to free me, Sandra. The ghost spoke with eyes wide open. How? I have no hand in your death. Leave me alone in peace. She said aloud. The ghost vanished and never bothered her all night. Sandra had a good sleep. She should have done this a long time ago. Purchasing the house was her most significant investment and a reward for all her hard work. No one else would understand why she would never want to resell the house. Why would she even do that and then go back to paying rent? She shrugged. She will never sell the house. However, she will set the man free, as he had asked. But how will she do that? She thought to herself. The following day, Sandra stood before a mirror, touching up her makeup. Suddenly, the older man appeared in the mirror, causing Sandra to fall off her chair. She hurriedly stood up and dusted her clothes. "Why won't you leave me in peace?" she questioned the man. "I have something to show you," he said. "It will be your guide to what happened to me." "I don't want to get involved in what happened to you, old man. Please, look for someone else, or you can go haunt the one who killed you," she said. And as she was about to paint her lips, the mirror shattered. The shadow walked out of the broken mirror and stood staring at Sandra. "Will you leave me alone if I help free you?" she asked. The shadow nodded. "I want to be free to rest," he said. The shadow led Sandra to the kitchen and asked her to search for a file under the kitchen counter. Sandra pushed the heavy counter aside and found a file covered in dust. The shadow had prevented one of the cleaners from finding the file because it contained everything he owned and all his money. As Sandra went through the file, her lips dropped in awe. She couldn't believe her eyes. The dead man had massive wealth, but no one knew about it. He owns properties all over the city. Why? He vanished before she could finish her statement. "Hey, old man, where are you? Why are you showing me this now?" She questioned the empty room. Sandra took the file to the living room and settled on a couch to read through the entire file. She found out he had an only son who lived in Lagos, and he was the one who sold the house to her. She also discovered that the doctor never willed any property to his son. Why would he do such a thing? She questioned herself. There was a medical report stating the doctor had no illness whatsoever, and some documents state that he died of a sickness. But that was a lie. Something had happened to him that no one else knew about. "What happened to you?" Sandra asked in the empty room, hoping he could hear her anyway. He appeared beside her. "That is what you must find out. You alone can reveal the truth to the world," he said, then vanished again. "Why don't you just tell me and stop vanishing up and down?" she yelled angrily. Damien led Sandra to a clue to his death. He didn't die of sickness, as his son had told the world. The boy came to the house one day, asking Damien to will all his wealth to him, but the doctor refused, saying the boy was unworthy to handle all his affluence. He knew his son wanted to take everything and lavish it all. How would he let such a thing happen? Sandra found the hammer his son used to kill him under the kitchen counter. Damien distracted the cleaners from finding all the clues. Otherwise, there would be nothing to prove he was murdered. The cleaners would have eliminated all the evidence, oblivious to its importance. Sandra was amazed by the older man's smartness. He had managed to manipulate everything the way he wanted it to be. It was Damien himself who spread the rumor of evil in the house. He scared off all who came to rent the house, but Sandra, this is because she happened to be one of the patients he had saved when she was just a child, but he didn't reveal this to her. Damien never forgets a face, and Sandra's face has not changed in a long time since she was a kid. Dr. Damien also showed Sandra a CCTV recording of his death. He had everything in place because he knew how evil his only son was and what the boy could do to get whatever he wanted. After his death, he manipulated the gateman to gather all evidence at a collection center, which he made known to Sandra. The next day, Sandra went to the media as Dr. Damien instructed. She paid the media to play the CCTV recordings for the entire world to see. She also made some announcements concerning the murderer on the loose, Richard Damien, who parades himself as a wealthy man. The police arrested Richard on his way to the airport, where he was about to board a plane to flee the country after watching his evil brought to light. The entire world stood its ground that Richard Damien must be sentenced to death for what he did to the doctor, a man of excellent reputation who made a massive impact in the lives of people. However, the Supreme Court sentenced Richard Damien to life imprisonment. I have done all you want me to do, and I guess you will be at peace now, Sandra said to Damien. He nodded and thanked her for exposing his son's evil act. I want someone to carry on with my wealth and keep doing all I have done for people, the ghost said. I am willing to give all my properties to you, Sandra Brown, as my next of kin. How did you know my father's name? Sandra asked curiously. She never told him anything about herself. I was there in April 2012 when you were rushed to the Cemetery 6 hospital. You were only 8 years old when you got into an accident. I was the doctor who took care of you and paid your bills when your poor parents couldn't afford the money. Sandra's past flashed before her. She recalled her mom's story about the good doctor who gave her a second chance and how he helped their family. Her mother also told her that the doctor paid some of her fees, but she never got to meet him because he never wanted to take credit for the good he had done for her family. It was you all that time. The alerts for my fees, the feeding money, and the foodstuffs my mom talked about. It was you. The doctor shook his head. Yes, I knew you came to me for a purpose. I saw something in you, and that was why I did all I did. I knew this moment would come when you set me free. We were all created for a purpose. Only the blind fail to see how important we are to each other. Every man is created to fulfill a good purpose in another man's life, but greed and selfish desires have prevented many from knowing the truth. Today, you have given me my freedom. I shall now rest in peace. Goodbye, Sandra Brown. Wait, she said, but the doctor vanished before she could stop him. From that day on, Sandra became better than she was. She reached out to many people and invested wisely with all that Dr. Damien left behind. She built hospitals and took many kids off the street in the doctor's name. And all she did was keep his memories alive in the hearts of millions of people out there. That is a great story with a lesson to learn, Dari told Aisha. I wish we all learned to play a better role in the lives of people we meet daily. No one knows tomorrow. The group nodded in agreement with what Dari said. The cemetery became calm. A gentle wind blew across them, putting out the fire. Are you here to tell us what happened to you? Oma asked the little girl, but she got no answer. Laura walked to the little girl and brought her into the circle, offering her a seat and snacks. The little girl stopped crying. Something terrible happened to her that led to her death, and only the 6 can fix the puzzle.
Thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. We are here to bring you more stories told by Cemetery 6. Like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell to get notified about our new stories. See you again when the 6 gather to share another story.